and welcome to another virtual dose of vitamin Z, where we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is Zahraa. I'm an education specialist here at the Detroit Zoological Society, where we celebrate and save wildlife every day. And today is another episode of Animal Mysteries and Misconceptions. Each episode, we take an animal misconception or story we might have heard and figure out whether it's fact or fiction.
When it comes to fairy tales, not all amphibians are treated equally. Frogs get a much better portrayal than toads. Stories exist about kissing a frog to turn him into a charming prince, but those same stories warn us not to mistake a toad for a frog, because just touching toads will give us warts. Are the fairy tales partially true? Can princes be found in ponds, and does touching a toad cause warts? We'll separate the fact from the fiction to those amphibian tales, but first, let's learn what separates a frog from a toad. Both frogs and toads live near ponds, swamps, and marshes. Frogs can live on the ground or in trees. Toads live only on the ground. Both frogs and toads have stubby front legs, but frogs have slimmer bodies and longer back legs. These limbs are especially good for leaping from tree to tree and for swimming. Frogs have smooth, slimy skin, where toads have dry, bumpy skin. These bumps are mistaken for warts, but are actually glands that are part of their defense mechanism. We'll learn a little bit more about the defense mechanism of toads, but let's take a look at our first myth about turning frogs into princes. It doesn't take much research to know that kissing a frog does not turn them into a prince, but it's not all harmless fiction. Some frogs, especially those with brightly colored skin, have defense mechanisms to protect them. One of these mechanisms is that some frogs are poisonous or toxic when ingested. This means that kissing frogs can cause humans to ingest some of that poison and won't lead to a prince, but can place us in danger. Despite the rumors about toads, the same principles apply. The bumps toads have across their bodies cannot give warts to humans because warts are a human condition caused by a human virus. This doesn't mean you should go around touching every toad you come across, because while they can't give you warts, toads do have defense mechanisms to protect themselves. Contact with a toad's skin will not poison you through skin-to-skin contact, but some toads can secrete a milky white substance from those bumpy glands behind their eyes. That substance can be poisonous and can harm someone if ingested. These are just some reasons not to touch toads when we come across them in the wild, but the biggest reason is the damage humans are capable of. Humans have thick skin. That is an excellent barrier that protects us from bacteria, viruses, and more. Amphibians have really thin, porous skin that is not capable of providing that same level of protection. Chytrid fungus is just one example of how amphibian skin is so sensitive. This fungus is causing a lot of damage to amphibian populations all across the world. While humans' thick skin protects them from the effects of chytrid, they can pass it along from one frog to the next and from one space to the next by touching amphibians in the wild or by removing amphibians from one place and releasing them somewhere else. The best way to protect amphibians is to admire them with our eyes and make sure we keep our hands to ourselves. Fairy tales aside, remember that while the stories are false, human actions can have both positive and negative impacts on amphibians.
Thank you for joining us for this amphibian version of Animal Mysteries and Misconceptions. And thank you to our sponsor for this week, DTE Energy, for providing us with an opportunity to continue to provide educational content to our community. Be sure to check us out next time when we take on another animal mystery or misconception and figure out whether something is fact or fiction.